type of man he was. The Bible tells that he instituted reform throughout the nation of Judah. He took out all of the statues of Ashtaroth. He tore down all of the temples and the shrines and kicked out all of the male temple prostitutes that were in the city that his father couldn't all but kick out. But he could not take away all of the high places. What are the high places? Those high places were those secret places that people would go to worship false gods. They would burn incense. Now, when you see incense in the Bible, it's not the incense that we normally classify on incense with a stick and everything. That's not the incense that they talk about in the Bible. The incense in the Bible was basically an altar. It was a box. They would put fragrant spices in, and then they would heat it up or light it, and then the smoke would go up, thus making it an incense. So the people of God at that time, they were doing these things in secret. They were worshiping these false gods, and when you light up an incense in the Old Testament was a form of prayer and worship. When we consider today prayer and worship, that's what they did back in the Old Testament. And they were doing these things to false gods, but they were doing it in secret. They also did it to God too. They're worshiping God in that manner. Now you may figure, what's wrong with that? We said they're not worshiping those false gods, but God wants us to worship Him the way pagans worship their gods. God wants us to be separate and called out people. And there's another thing that was wrong with that, is God classified that worship as strange fire. What strange fire is fire that didn't come from the proper source. Now when we think about the temple in the Old Testament, Solomon's temple, the temple of God, they had what's called the brazen altar. Say their neighbor, the brazen altar. What the brazen altar was, that was the place where they would lay the sin sacrifice on top of it. Are you following me thus far? I'm not following a rabbit, I know where I'm going. We on somewhere. The brazen altar was where they put the sin sacrifice. Now what the people of God would do, they would lay their hands on the sacrificial animal that was spotless and blameless, and then their reproach would be on that animal. And then once that happened, they would sacrifice it, and that animal would be placed on the brazen altar. Now the coals from that brazen altar were to go to the altar of incense, which was in the tabernacle. And the altar of incense was right there in front of the Holy of Holies. Now what does that entail? God wants your praise and your worship. Yes, He does. He wants it continuously. But He wants that praise and the worship to go through Christ first. He wants to be Christ-centered and not fleshly-centered. Sometimes we have our praise and our worship service, and a lot of it, trust me, I've been there, I've been in church for my whole life. A lot of our praise and worship is flesh-centered. It is flesh-centered. That's right. I'm not going to lie to you. Now, I'd be lying if I was lying to you. Pastor would have been like this. Shut the mic off. I'm not lying to you. A lot of our worship that we see today is fleshly centered. You know, when we see things like the altar call. The altar call is a part of the sermon. Did you know that? The altar call is a part of the sermon. That part is the message. The invitation, waiting for your response. Did you follow me? Yes. The message, the invitation, waiting for you to give a response. The same invitation that Jesus gave. Come on, ye that are heavy laden. All right. I will give you rest.